In the vast wilderness of the Serengeti Reserve in Tanzania lived an elderly man named Makonde. Mr. Makonde was a former forest ranger who had been dedicated to the reserve for over 50 years, from his youth until his old age. Throughout his life, he committed himself to protecting wildlife from illegal poaching. In Serengeti, everyone regarded him as a living legend, respected for his resilience and compassion. Even after retirement, he continued to volunteer daily, patrolling in his old vehicle. Young staff often turned to him for guidance, as he possessed profound knowledge of the land and its creatures. He deeply loved the elephants, lions, giraffes, zebras, and rhinos, and cared for them all with heartfelt devotion. He gave special attention to the elderly animals in the reserve's sanctuary, where they could rest peacefully. Despite his declining health, Mr. Makonde never let his age or ailments hold him back. Recently, the Serengeti had been experiencing increasingly harsh weather, with temperatures soaring up to 45 degrees Celsius. That morning, the sun blazed brightly over the plains. Many animals sought refuge in the shade of towering trees. But Mr. Makonde was determined to check on an injured rhinoceros he had visited the day before. He drove carefully toward the brushland where the rhino was recovering. The vehicle crept along the bumpy path through the parched savanna. Scorching heat filled the car's cabin, causing sweat to pour from his brow. Upon arrival, he stopped the car and stepped out, trying to observe the rhino from a distance. The rhino still looked frail, a long wound across its side, yet to heal. Mr. Makonde walked closer, cautiously, to examine the animal's condition. His eyes held concern and affection for the mighty yet vulnerable creature. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. The pain intensified. He became dizzy and unresponsive. He dropped to his knees in the dry grass, drenched in sweat, his face ghostly pale. Nearby, two colleagues, Elijah and Musa, were tending to zebras when they heard a faint cry. They rushed over and found Mr. Makonde collapsed on the ground. Elijah knelt to check his pulse. His heart was beating erratically. Musa searched his pockets for heart medication, but it wasn't there. Perhaps in his haste, the old man had forgotten to bring his medicine that day. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Elijah immediately radioed the main station to request an ambulance. All activities were halted as everyone united in a desperate effort to help. A specialized medical vehicle soon arrived to transport Mr. Makonde to the reserve's medical facility. On the way, Elijah kept calling his name, hoping he would stay conscious. But the old man's eyes slowly closed and his breathing grew shallow. At the clinic, doctors began emergency treatment without delay. They performed CPR and used a defibrillator. Tension filled the small room. After more than 15 minutes, a doctor solemnly announced that his heart had already stopped. A heavy silence fell. Everyone stood stunned. The devastating truth echoed through the sorrow. It marked the end of a remarkable life. News spread quickly, and many employees rushed to the clinic, visibly shaken. They knew the reserve had lost a spiritual pillar. His family was notified, and the tragic news deeply affected them. In line with Mr. Makonde's wishes, his funeral would take place within the reserve. Plans were made to hold a ceremony following traditional customs. At sunrise the next morning, everyone gathered. A simple wooden bed was placed in the center courtyard of the reserve. Mr. Makonde's body lay peacefully upon it, his face serene, as though in sleep. One by one, people came to say their farewells, their eyes filled with sorrow. Elijah stood beside him, his hand trembling as he gently held the old man's hand, memories flooding back. Musa quietly lit incense and offered a silent prayer. Suddenly, a roar echoed from the gates of the reserve. Everyone turned in alarm and saw a massive male lion approaching. It walked slowly through the crowd, its gaze full of regal mystery. Fear rippled through the people as they scrambled for cover. The lion growled softly to announce its presence, but showed no sign of hostility. It approached the wooden bed where the old man rested. No one spoke a word. All eyes were fixed on the majestic creature. The lion circled the bed, then stood solemnly at its foot. He lowered his head, as if remembering. The surreal moment left the crowd trembling, stunned by the power of the scene. To Elijah's amazement, he noticed a large scar on the lion's side. Suddenly, he recalled that this was the very lion he and Mr. Makonde had rescued 15 years ago. Back then, a pride had been trapped by poachers, and they had rushed to free them. Mr. Makonde and Elijah removed the trap and treated the lion's wound. The lion was later relocated to a safe area where it gradually recovered and returned to the wild. Perhaps over the years, it had watched over its savior from afar. And now, sensing his passing, it had found a way to say goodbye. The lion's loyalty and gratitude moved everyone deeply. Elijah carefully stepped forward, trying to calm the lion. To their surprise, the lion merely bowed its head silently, showing no aggression. Gradually, others joined him, sharing in the sacred moment. Fear gave way to a collective grief for the loss of the old man. After the courtyard service ended, the body was carried to a meadow he once loved. The lion followed slowly behind, letting out mournful roars, expressing its sorrow. The group stopped at a spot shaded by large trees and lush grass. They gently dug a grave and laid Mr. Makonde to rest. All held their breath as they witnessed this final farewell. Elijah and Musa placed a stone at the head of the grave, engraved with his name, a tribute to his 50 years of service. Local villagers held a prayer ceremony, hoping his soul would find eternal peace. The lion remained by the grave for a long while, its head bowed, eyes fixed on the resting place. Then it released a long, echoing roar that carried across the plains. It was a mournful cry, like the lament of someone who had lost a benefactor. Moments later, the crowd quietly departed, leaving the lion alone in its grief. The sun set slowly, painting the Serengeti sky a deep crimson. The image of the lion standing vigil at the grave was etched into everyone's memory. The following day, the reserve suspended all activities in his honor. Many gathered to light incense, lay wildflowers at the grave, and pray for his peace. Now and then, people saw the lion return, sitting quietly in contemplation. To him, Mr. Makonde was the one who gave him life, and now he repaid that debt in remembrance. Elijah and Musa often visited the grave too, speaking to him, carrying on his dream of protecting wildlife. The story of the legendary ranger Makonde will forever live on in the Serengeti, alongside the unwavering love of a lion for his savior. Thank you, dear friend, for watching the entire video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Until next time, farewell.